Hello everyone, my name is Bagel Thief.
I'm Lady Smaell.
I'm Weskurrr.
What we're showing you here is a 100% co-op speedrun of this game, Guacamelee Gold Edition, available on Steam.
Made by Drinkbox Studios.
Yeah, usually it's done by one person as a speedrun, but quite uniquely, me and Lady Smaell live together, and we both speedrun it, so we're doing a co-op speedrun. Now, first off, what we'd like to explain is this glitch here coming up. We call it select door glitch. It's activated by pressing select and up as you go into a doorway, and it brings up a false main menu. What it basically does is it rewrites where the game thinks the main menu is. So when you pause and quit, instead of taking you to the main menu, it will take you to the region you have activated that glitch.
In this case, it's Pablucho.
And you can use, when you exit an area, the game kind of uses indices to mark where you last left off, I guess for save purposes usually, but with select door glitch we can abuse that to skip large sections of the game.
Yes, very much so. Now that our main character has died, I'm going to pause and quit to go back to that Pablucho city. We're in the world of the dead. Now we can skip a cutscene here by pausing and quitting once we get the mask. We usually wait until our feet are off the floor to pause and quit, but you can do it one frame earlier, which you're about to see. And that brings us back into the world of the living. What that glitch does, it confuses the game into thinking what our actual costume is, because we didn't go through that cutscene, which is causing this weird stuff you see in here. And now we're able to go 2 players. This will save us quite a lot of time in platforming and combat, which you're about to see here.
A thing to note with it is that even though there are 2 players, when there are 2 players, the enemies actually have more health, so they do actually take more hits to kill. But with 2 players who know what they're doing, it's trivial how much health they gain.
Yes, very much so.
And I imagine too that this can kind of trivialize a lot of boss fights, especially one kind of in the middle of the run. Well, not in the middle, but towards the beginning of the run, where if you knock a certain enemy back, you don't have to go chasing after them again like you would if you were just one person.
Very much so. That was a really quick chicken wrangle. It's the first side quest of the game. Got to round up all those chickens into the pen, and done phenomenally quickly.
That chicken wrangle is really, really difficult because the chicken physics are a bit random, to say the least.
They're not so much random as they are predictable, but you've got to manipulate them into going to where you want to. And the best way to manipulate them was a method discovered by a lady here of punching them and walking toward them to get them to go the opposite way.
As you might have seen there, sorry, Weskurrr, you go.
In one player, 100%, there's a very specific pattern that you want to walk in to get them to go where you want them to go optimally. With 2 players, it looked like it was just a little bit less of a pain.
Now, what we should have really explained earlier is this is drop-in, drop-out co-op. As you see in there, Lady's character, which is the male character, oddly enough. It's a bit strange, but she can drop out of the game and go into a bubble, or drop out completely. When she's in bubble form, I've got to pop her to bring her into it. And in arenas like that, where there's multiple enemies across the screen, it's very helpful to have 2 players in. And what also we didn't explain is the costumes we changed. Yeah, the costumes we switched to are the Alabrije costumes. They're a little bit of a glass cannon in the way that they do twice as much damage, but you will also take twice as much damage.
One thing about this select door glitch here is that you can still move around and interact with stuff while it's up. So, that being said, you also control the menu at the same time, because the game essentially right now thinks you're at the main menu. So, what's happening is that if you hit A, like you normally would to confirm something, it's going to control that main menu. But if you hit Y, you can still advance dialogue without affecting anything, which is what happened there. And what you may have seen was that the pause screen came up again. Well, technically, you're still playing the game. So pausing and quitting like that is just kind of a weird variation of the SDG.
Yeah, if you click on continue, it will take you to the last save point in that region. If you pause and quit while the main menu's up, it'll take you to the last loading screen, which is what took us back to Santa Lucita, Pueblucho even. Now we're in Santa Lucita doing more platforming.
And it looks like when one player picks up an item, both players get it.
Yes, that's true. I messed up a little bit there. A little bit of time loss.
That jump is pretty tricky. I'm always just at a loss to whether or not I get it. Sometimes a chicken can pop up and block your jump up there, and you'll either come up short or continue with your momentum, which is odd.
As you will see with this game,
strange
is the bane of our existence.
Yeah, the strange glitch there. If you manage to talk to the chicken on the ledge before the next dialogue rolls, you'll be able to move while the dialogue's progressing, which allows you to go to the right hand side of Poncho, who you're practicing beating up, and hit him towards the left. So when the next combo starts, you can hit him immediately. You don't have to run around chasing him.
Also, the reason why I'm not in at this point is because we both have to do the combos, and that actually wastes more time. It's quicker for one person to just get through the combos and get out the room.
Correct. One thing we should have mentioned earlier, a lot earlier, in fact a lot of things we need to mention at the very start of the run. You may have noticed we're in French, so we can't actually understand what is being said in the dialogue boxes. That is because there are fewer dialogue boxes to hit throughout the game in French. I think it's about 8 less, isn't it, Weskurrr, or something like that?
It was around 8 to 10, yeah. And the dialogue boxes instantly fill, but less is always better in, like, when you're talking about a speed run.
Definitely.
And speaking of that, what we've discovered during doing this run is that, well, what you can do is you can time your presses to progress the dialogue boxes quicker, but if there's 2 people in just mashing the A button, it seems to skip quite a few of the dialogue boxes, more than actually switching to French would save you. Throughout this run we actually skip over 30 dialogue boxes just by doing this, on top of the ones we miss out in French.
So a quick note at the beginning of the temple, you might have noticed that I went in ahead of Bagel. The thing is, 2 people, if with the one person screen transitions, the player automatically follows.
Yes. Now, as you saw that there, we changed screen progressions, getting Lady to do some things and me others. She's in a bubble now, so we don't both have to do this platforming section. There are 3 here at the top to do this quick combat arena.
Super quick.
Again, exploiting the mechanic of if one player leaves the room, both player leaves it.
And this being a 100% run, there are certain things we're going to do, which is all chests, all side quests. Even though El Infierno is a part of this run, it really doesn't feature, because completing the challenges there doesn't give you, kind of any extra percentage. So, in completing the map doesn't give you any extra percentage. It's chests and those quests specifically.
Yeah. If you want to go for 101%, you can do. Complete the El Infierno tasks, the challenges. But obviously, that's something extra if you want to go for it. That's an entirely different run, which we may do at a later date.
It's definitely on the agenda, at least for once.
And we're starting this run off with some nice, wonderful gold splits here.
You want to explain that, Bagel?
Yes, that's something I didn't mention. You may notice the splits have a sum of best of 1 hour 20 minutes, but the actual run ends at 1 hour 14. The splits we're comparing against at the moment are the world record for the single player, and the sum of best are obviously me and Lady's previous co-op attempt. We wanted to be able to beat the single player world record because it wouldn't be worth doing co-op if it wasn't faster. Now you may notice we're getting pinatas at the end of the arenas. This is so we can buy things a lot earlier in the run than we usually do.
And really the only useful upgrades for us in 100% is usually it's going to be stamina regeneration. And
sorry, go ahead.
Stamina delay is definitely, it ranks high up there because if you run out of stamina, the sooner you get it back, the better.
Yes, those are pretty much the only things we buy. Buy both stamina delay upgrades and both stamina regen upgrades. Delay means that once you're not doing a special, the time taken between it starting to regenerate is smaller, and stamina regen is how fast it recharges. Having both of those upgrades is very useful.
One of your little tech tricks coming up?
Yep.
We called this one the Bagel Bounce. It was created by Bagel Thief here.
Yes. There is a method called the buffered double jump. It allows you to do a mid-air double jump way before you actually get the ability, but it's very tricky to pull off. Nowhere near as consistent as that trick there. My trick is slower overall, but being able to get it consistently means you'll save time.
You call this room the acid trip room.
And normally we'd be doing a trick where we roll off of the cliff there on the right called the acid trip. And we'd uppercut to hit that second wall, but with co-op, as you saw, it's a lot faster to just do it that way, which looked amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again introduced to each Dubai, who's complaining at us because we might have found her pet or something, was it? We freed her Alhibre, which is Kalaka's pet, so she's not very impressed with us.
Yeah, she accuses us of hiding it, which I don't actually think is possible. But anyway, this arena here is one of the first examples of being if you're in the right place and you know where the enemies spawn, you can actually kill them before they're able to do anything.
It's affectionately called the Jean-Claude Van Damme Arena because you just go nuts on them.
Mess up the jump a little bit there.
And that giant earlier on can be a bit temperamental, especially in single player. As you saw, he can slam his fist down. He'll either do that or do nothing, and when he slams his fist down, it can be very difficult to get out of the way. And it will one-shot you thanks to the Alabrije costumes taking double damage.
Yeah.
Nice little pass of the football here. Now, we're just running away from the Alabrije now, who's chasing us. He also one-shot you.
It's an insta-kill auto-scroller section. Speedrunner's absolutely favourite things in the world.
Indeed.
I'm just up top trying to get as big a combo as you can. You get a money bonus for how big your combo is. And for when we're trying, the stuff we're trying to buy, when we try and buy it, we need as much money as we can.
It also looks pretty swag, to be fair.
Yes.
Indeed.
Now, rolling into that portal at the end at the same time with 2 players causes a little bit of a skip here, which we got, which was nice.
It also skipped Ishtabay's teleporting away animation, which was pretty cool looking.
Just sort of vanishes. Again, just using the fact that there's 2 people with stamina to break blocks and move quicker through them. Because even with a roll, there is a slight delay after you do a special, so if one of the players already moving, then they're just moving faster. I've bubbled here because there's a rather tricky little, well, not a skip as such. It's a little trick, yeah, that I can't get as consistently as Bagel, so it's easier for me to just bubble and then just come back in here.
Yeah, rolling into this door, it saves about 1 second, and with 2 people out at the same time, you don't seem to get it at all.
If one person gets it, then the other person runs back to meet the other person. It's a bit of a pain.
So that's why Lady's bubbled there, and I'm going to break her bubble as soon as I can after this dialogue. And for some reason she gets part of my tip. Don't know.
Hey, I deserve it. I work hard for my money.
And here we're getting a new ability. And this is another big deviation point from any percent. Right now, if you've seen the any percent run of this game, this run hasn't differed very much from it, aside from a few extra things, but things really get different here. Just starting from when you get Frog Slam going onward.
What you can use the Frog Slam ability to do is to gain height. I know it sounds counterproductive, but you can actually hit ledges that would otherwise be difficult, like that one just there, to hit, or damn near impossible. Your sprite actually condenses into the top half when that move is unleashed. So if you do that as you're almost by a ledge, you'll be able to hit it. And we just skipped a arena there. Very temperamental arena with cactus enemies in. That they throw green and red grenades, and you've got to throw the green ones back at them. But it's quite random which ones they throw. So skipping that arena entirely is much better.
It's a very difficult trick to pull off, I would like to point that out. It takes a lot of practice, and even then it can be very temperamental at times.
And what we saw was the most consistent variation of it, where you headbutt near the wall and do the buffer jump off of that wall onto the platform nearby. There is a faster version, but it's very, very risky and not super consistent to pull off.
Exactly.
Usually not the speedrunner's motto, but in this case, slower and steadier is definitely the more better way.
Indeed. It only saves, I want to say, maybe a second.
Yeah.
But if you hit that arena, that's 30, possibly 40 seconds lost. So the 1 second's definitely worth it.
Definitely.
This is another arena that that we're about to go into that 2 players sort of trivializes. On 1 player, this arena is very difficult because you have to time your attacks perfectly, because that flying enemy, it's called a chupacabra, that if you do not hit that as soon as it comes on the screen, it causes you a world of problems.
Oh yeah, their movements are very random, and they don't really tend to react to where you are. They just move around as they see fit, and occasionally fire off three little fireballs that you have to dodge. Very annoying enemy to deal with once he gets going, but very trivial if you can just catch him out and knock him down.
Yeah, by far the best way to deal with them is to kill them as soon as you can, especially if they're in an arena. And as far as I'm aware, there's no other arenas with that enemy in for the rest of the run.
There is one.
Well, there is
one in Sierra.
Yeah, there is one,
yeah.
but we do an intentional
We'll explain
death
that. Yeah, we'll explain that when we get to it.
Now, as you can see, we've been turned into, well, ordinarily it's a chicken, but in a different costume it has a different form, so...
Dragon!
We're baby chicken dragons, I guess.
We're baby trogdors.
And the chicken form is special because it's faster than walking and it's faster than rolling. So a lot of the rest of the run, when we're not really having to jump and platform a whole lot, we're going to be using chicken form as our primary form, simply because of the boost in movement.
Yeah, and shortly we're going to get the ability to swap at will between human form and chicken form, which gives us another very interesting glitch discovered by Weskurrr and Fried Eel, something we call swap hopping. It allows us essentially to do an infinite jump. It's very tricky to pull off. It involves buffering a jump while switching from chicken to human form, and then switching back to chicken form to do it all over again.
It took hours of practice to master, and shoutouts to Proton, who gave us a very consistent method for getting the swap hop. Really, we were trying to hit the button initially every time.
Yeah.
But if you hold the button during your swap hop, it's a lot easier to just land the other two. But it's still a very precise input, and it takes a lot of practice to get it down, like we're about to see here.
I messed up there and died. I wasn't meant to. Oops.
This area is quite random as well. That was a fairly bad pan, but still, at least one of us made it out, and that's all that matters.
That's the important thing. If you die, there's a timer between when you come back in, so it eventually counts down. It's just 15 seconds. There is a shop ability that will lower it, but we generally don't buy it because, well, we don't really die that often in this game. Unless you make silly mistakes like I just did.
And there we had it. That was the swap hop. The exact inputs that we use for it are we just hold jump, and then we kind of, while changing from chicken form to human form, we dodge while doing that, and it gives us that upward momentum.
We're going to break that red block there for later, when we come back to collect all the treasure in the forest. We're gonna fly through there, but we'll come to that bit later on in the run.
That's a very nice bit of synchronization there. One breaks the blocks, the other moves forward. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of work. We've literally been at this pretty much non-stop for like 5 days. This is the only run we've actually managed to complete, either due to certain aspects of later on being a complete pain in the bum, Weskurrr will know what I'm talking about, or the game just genuinely crashing. We've had multiple crashes over the last couple of days, and a couple of them were on literally as good as this runs, and to be honest, it was a bit heartbreaking, but you know, you carry on and you finally get it done.
You just saw there a nice quick exit from getting the chest in El Presidente's mansion. One of us was getting the chest and one of us was quickly bailing out. You don't actually need to collect the items that are in the chest. We didn't collect any of that treasure in that chest at all, but as long as that chest breaks, it counts towards our percentage.
And as you'll see a bit later on, we kind of abuse that with the select door glitch. Get chests and then quickly quit out so we can get to another area faster.
Yeah, a lot of the items you get, like stamina and health, they have a small animation that you will have seen that comes with them. And a lot of the times you're about to see in one of the future areas that we break the chest and quit out before that animation happens, so we don't have to wait for it. And if it's something like health, it's not really that big of an issue.
And here we're fighting by, and this is a very beautiful fight.
I was a bit pants on the yellow in phase 3, but other than that, it was a very good. So we just got a new ability which gives us the ability to switch between the land of the living and the land of the dead. As you'll see, there are certain areas that are only accessible in the land of the living and certain areas that are only accessible in the land of the dead.
You saw me there struggling to free Lady from her bubble. The hitbox for the bubble is quite random. Not random as such, but it's a lot smaller than what it looks like.
And especially if you're trying to hit it with chicken.
Yeah.
There is a scientific explanation for the bubble's hitbox, and it's that when you're trying to hit it and you really need to, its surface tension increases 1,000-fold.
I was just going to say reasons, but...
Yeah, that works too.
This is speed science. So, part of 100% that I did forget to mention is getting the good ending of the game, which requires that you get 5 mask pieces that, well, there's 6 in total, but 5 are kind of scattered around the place. And you do need to pick these up before you kill the final boss. So, we'll be stopping at a few places that are kind of hidden away that you really normally wouldn't know of unless you went looking for them. We're going to pick up a few mask pieces, and along with those, we're going to use SDG to get to some interesting places.
Yeah. Now at the moment,
interesting.
Yeah. Now at the moment, we have our SDG set in the forest. This is the first mask challenge that there is. There's one in the forest as well. There's one in next to Santa Lucita called Poyo Cavern, and there's one in the Sierra and at the top of the Tule tree. Now, as we have the select door glitch set at the forest, if we pause and quit in this area where we get the orb, we'll transport to the corresponding area in the forest, so we don't have to do that challenge. It's a fairly quick challenge, but still it's nice to skip it and get that piece early.
Indeed, and really normally you get that challenge towards the end of the game, but it's very
because it requires a specific ability.
Yeah, but it's very fortunate that SDG dumps us where it does, because we can just save and quit out of here and just go on with our lives. And also, below this area there's a chest that we need to get later on, and instead of going out of our way for it, it just dumps us right there.
Yeah, I cleverly miss it, but yeah. It is still, it's very fortunate the way the SDG works out.
And
I would like to point... Sorry, I was going to say, it's like, this run is very good, but it's not perfect. There are mistakes, they happen.
And with swap hopping, we can reach a lot of places that we ordinarily shouldn't be able to at this point in the game. Case in point, that chest there that we just got by jumping up, and we're also going to see it used extensively in this section.
Yeah, that and select door glitch. There is quite a few arenas in here and quite a few treasure chests. The arenas, especially, some of them are quite long and difficult to do quickly. So we're going to utilise select door glitch and do the entire two-layer tree from top to bottom, not bottom to top as you would usually do. And we're going to skip every single arena in there.
And
because we're big dirty cheaters.
I believe this was discovered by Proton.
Yes, a lot of the select door glitch tech was discovered by him, including a lot of the routing, especially for 100%, was discovered by him as well. Now, doing the select door glitch there seemed a bit convoluted, but we are now essentially at the top of the two-layer tree. I'm gonna break
and
that
the beautiful
half.
Thing is,
So go ahead. Hey, you guys.
The beautiful thing is we can just bop that chest and start and quit. We don't exactly need the life because there are very few times in this run where we'll get hit. We already have enough life to cover us if we get hit once. Dodging in this game is very forgiving, I should say, and it allows us to avoid damage a lot of the time.
I'm about to see a very perfectly timed SDG.
Ooh.
It's a nice little variant of doing it there. Instead of it, when we pause and quit, it warping us to the top of the two-layer tree, we've just activated another one, so it will warp us to that save point we just hit. So we don't have to backtrack getting that chest we just got. And now we're about to get a new ability called double jump, which you may think we don't need, but it is very useful still.
It's going to trivialize getting up to a different section for us by giving us the ability to wall hop, which it allows us to essentially dodge away from the wall and use our second jump to get back on it, and we'll gain a little bit of height each time. And it's easy to do once or twice, but to do it very quickly, many times in succession, does take hours upon hours of practice.
Yeah, it's a very difficult trick to master. It's one of those, as the saying goes, easy to pick up, difficult to master. Right here, where me and Bagel are again going to utilise the screen transition. Well, it's not a glitch, but the screen transition mechanic to quickly get out of that room, because it's quite a tricky room to get out of, although sometimes that happens. Oops. We tried for a trick here. Sorry, but Weskurrr.
Oh, there's a fine example of some wall hopping.
I wouldn't say fine example. What we were attempting to do there is, as I broke the chest, the lady was going to go through the door, so we could get out of that room very quickly. But because I messed up the wall hopping, it didn't exactly work. We're going to try it again here, and luckily, you get the idea of what we were aiming for. And that is the entirety of the two-layer tree done. Now, there is a section at the top of the two-layer tree that we're going to do later, and what we need to do, ironically, is get to the very bottom of it, the underneath of the two-layer tree. To do that, you would usually go from the top route, but we're going to use SDG to warp there now, and also collect this one hard chest in the desert, which is otherwise inaccessible.
It would seem like it's normally a random out-of-the-way chest, and ordinarily it would be, but thankfully we have SDG to get us in and out, basically just where we need to be.
Okay, so you may have noticed that Bagel went up to the Sierra area, and that's for a reason that's about to become apparent now. As you can see, he's heading back towards the desert. Well, he's speaking to Isabella to start one of the side quests first. He's heading towards the desert because while we mentioned El Infierno earlier, that it's not actually part of the 100% run, there is one very, very, very helpful thing about it. I can't remember exactly how it came about, but I think someone was saying that they got stuck at one part of the game, and the drink box guys, the guys who made the game, said, oh yeah, if you go and do this, it'll reset your abilities. So the game, we're going into a very specific room in El Infierno, that when you come out, it will reset your abilities to the point where
it looks at your objective in the game of where you are, and what the trick actually was in room number 8 of El Infierno. It takes away all your special abilities, and when it gives you them back, it looks at your objective in the game as to what abilities to give you back. Now, as we've been to the Sierra, our objective has changed, and it will assume that we have all the abilities that we gain in Temple of War, because otherwise the game believes we can't get there without them. Obviously we're cheaters and we can. But for no good reason whatsoever, it also works in room number 3, which doesn't take away your abilities at all, but it's much quicker to get to than room 8, so that's why we do it in room 3 instead.
Oh yeah, and we're about to see that in action now. We're going to have, since we do have these abilities that we wouldn't have otherwise at this point in the game, we can do a few extra side quests early.
The next side quest coming up is the worst side quest in the entire game. It has killed many a run, many a great run as well. It's called Chicken Thief, and basically it's a game of 3-card Monty with chickens. You've got to pick the right one out of 3, and it's so you can lose the right chicken very quickly, and there's 3 rounds in it which get progressively faster,
and the 3rd round is just insane. It's the only really RNG base section of the game.
There's RNG you can react to in this game, such as enemy patterns, but this is truly a test of just how focused are you. And before, we used to do this, I believe it was after Temple of War, wasn't it?
Yes, but now the game believes you've been to Temple of War and got everything, so we don't actually need to go there. In a normal run we wouldn't need to go there at all, but there's treasure in them there hills, so we're gonna have to go back.
But that's why it's got its new nickname, not the Temple of War anymore.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. Get to that later.
And
thankfully, Bagel got it first time. Yay!
Oh, nice.
Again, yeah. There is a rolling glitch when you complete a side quest. If you've got movement when you do it and you strike that pose, if you're rolling when you strike that pose, you will continue to move at a rolling pace while you're doing it, which can get you to other areas quicker. You can move when essentially you wouldn't be able to.
It is quite tricky to get, and the timing is very precise.
Now that fine gentleman there had some cheese that we needed for the world's largest enchilada, which is a side quest that we picked up from Isabella's kitchen on the way down.
Yeah, this is pretty much a very side quest heavy part of the run. And this is where we're getting the other masterpiece, Polio Cavern. What this area essentially is 3 sets of arena gauntlets. There's 10 arenas in each, and every time you complete an arena you drop down until you eventually get to the bottom here to collect the treasure. And what that message just popped up said, the next set of gauntlets is essentially open. We're going to cheat and just get the treasure and not do any of that fighting. That saves us around about 6 minutes.
8 minutes.
Well, 8 minutes. In total. And here we're going to do an unexpected super jump trick. Essentially, when you jump, all your jump and the screen transitions, you still have all your upward momentum left in that jump, and if the second player who's doing the screen transition changes screen at the top of theirs, you can essentially gain a lot more height than what you usually would. This is the I Am Error side quest, who's managed to get himself sealed in a room somehow. I have no idea how that's possible.
Shout out to Zelda though for the name of the side quest.
Yeah.
You have noticed there are a lot of references in this in this game. A lot of references.
Yeah, there's just a few.
And what we're doing here is we're just getting the rest of this big ol' enchilada, and we're gonna pick up a few more chests while we're at it.
Yeah. As you probably noticed, my ability to split on time is quite poor. So there's a fair few in this run that I just miss. They're gonna have to be corrected
on the run.
Yeah. Yeah, let's blame it on that. Yeah.
No comment.
There's one more ingredient to pick up, which is the tortillas. For some reason this NPC will not talk to you at all if you're in chicken form. So we have to be in human form for that.
She must be the only sane person in that town.
And we're going to attempt to get the roll glitch here. With two of us doing it, it increases our chances, and wonderfully we both get it at the same time.
Beautiful.
A lady's disappearing here now because I'm about to do the treetops, which is at the top of the two-lay tree. This is another one of the challenges, and unfortunately we can't cheat our way through this one like we have the others. We've still got to do it. We can do it in a speedrun method, but it's still extremely difficult.
Indeed.
It is the most difficult platforming section in the entire game. It is tricky as hell.
And swap hopping, even with that, there is kind of a tricky method with swap hopping towards the top that's going to let us skip a very, 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 very difficult section.
Yeah, usually you would have one of the final abilities in the game at this point before attempting this, which is Goat Fly, which is a lot like Wall Run, which you're seeing me doing here. But you can fly horizontally. But as we don't have that, we've got to adapt. And this is where swap hops come in to take slack, as it were. Now, usually you would go up through a sort of maze of saws here. But what I'm going to do is swap hop off screen. I'm going to fail it once. Swap hop off screen to just go by a couple of them, and then resume the rest of the maze, which is almost at the end.
I mean, it's a very tricky segment to pull off, and that what you saw there, but once you get it, you've saved so much time, as opposed to actually...
Like a good 15 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Easy 15 seconds.
And we're going to SDG out of here, and it's going to warp us to an area of the two-lay tree that we've never actually been.
No, it's actually going to warp us to Combo Chicken. We've got it set to Santa Lucita.
I keep forgetting.
You're thinking of an old route. Not a problem. Now we're going to go to the Sierra. We're going to completely clean out the Sierra, apart from the last two chests, which we'll get to near the end of the game. We're going to skip a cutscene here, a cutscene conversation here with Jaguar. We're just going to roll right past him.
That might look easy, but that trigger is really small.
Lady's going to drop down there and get a chest for me.
And here comes one of the hardest swap hopping segments in the game. Not by any means, well, I'd say in this run, probably one of the longer ones.
Yeah. Longest vertical one, that's for sure.
And there's going to be tons more swap hopping where we're going next. Right here, we're going to die instead of fighting these guys. And that's going to warp us to another side of the arena, because if we were to kill these two, more would spawn and we'd waste our time killing them. So, why waste time living when you've got plenty of time to not waste time?
That's it, yeah. And also, with the amount of health pickups we've skipped actually collecting, and the extra damage we take with this costume, it works out pretty well to die easily. This is a Mega Man-esque section, sort of a shout out to that game. So we're just going to skip all of that difficult platforming. Well, most of it. The most difficult room I'm actually going to do almost legitimately, and that's this one. From here on out I just do it without swap hopping at all, because it's faster.
The name of this area is Caverna de Locura, which actually means Cave of Madness, and it has driven us all mad at one point, especially before the advent of swap hopping.
Yes, and sometimes after the advent of swap hopping. Now this little message you're going to have pop up, because we got 5 out of the 6 masterpieces. The last one you get after the final boss, but we've collected all the extra ones. It translates to "you feel lighter," which is a hint to the ability we now have and we can use once we go through this door. We can now fly in chicken form.
And this trivializes a lot of
everything.
Yes.
It also enables us to do a kind of a cool trick called Hyperfly, which we'll see when we get our next ability from our next statue.
Yes. Now, when you turn into chicken form, it'll preserve your horizontal momentum. Now, the fastest form of horizontal momentum is goat fly, which we're about to get now. If we can jump out of that and turn into chicken, you goat fly in a straight line, but you can move about as a chicken. You can gain height, decrease it to make pretty good time saves.
Now, the reason we flew so high in that last arena was we were skipping a trigger, which would have kind of locked us into a long fight.
Yeah, it was just that particular trick was discovered
by Tachyon.
Yeah, so we call it the tack tactic, and we have to do it on both sides, otherwise it spawns the arena.
Now, ordinarily, you would need to swap hop to pull it off, but with chicken fly, it just makes it that much easier.
There you see the first instance of a hyperfly, maintaining your flight speed, and you're about to see it again here.
And this one's a little tricky to pull off.
I've done that fine. Need to go underneath because there's a chest over here. Otherwise, ordinarily we would just fly up to the right. But this is the only method to get that chest, unfortunately.
The tricky little section coming up to do with dimension swapping, but we're going to skip that as well with the hyperfly.
And also we're going to skip a small cutscene. We encounter Jaguar Javier here, who keeps on stopping us to stare at us menacingly, but we can walk straight past that cutscene there, but to get stopped by nothing here. He's supposed to be there. He's supposed to run up the hill and make you follow him. An interesting fact that if you get that glitch and you fight Jaguar here, you can go back to where he was standing previously and he's still there. There's no good reason for that whatsoever.
But once you leave the map, he despawns and we never see him again.
So now we're fighting Jaguar, also known as Puma Man. And damn those mid-air rolls.
And he's very, very finicky. As you can see here, he has a tendency to dodge, but with two people, he just gets hosed.
Now, unfortunately, we killed him at the edge of the arena. It's optimal to kill him in the center to avoid this long crawl, because that's where the scene ends. Oh, what we're going to do here is wait for a audio cue to let us know we have triggered an Olmec head. This means we can warp to it, and then we can quit out.
Okay, so now we're going to start the treasure collection. So we're starting in the desert.
And we hug the wall to the left there, mainly so that we skip the arena trigger, because it seems to be kind of in the center of that arena. And this plant maze, where normally we would only have to get hit once, we can actually take a couple of hits here to go through. Still, their pattern does kind of matter a little bit here, but it's less of a pain than it was before.
Got a damage boost here to get this hidden chest at the top. Lady's going to break that while I leave. Unfortunately, I don't do this trick first time.
And that's a very, very tricky. That's a very tricky jump to get, but getting it second time even is good. It's not often that you get to see that trick.
The lady's going to go down into a maze to get another chest. I'm going to perform a hyperfly off one of these walls, so I want these cheapers out of my way. And she was able to do that blind, which is impressive to say the least.
Have to do a few things blind in this run.
Yes.
And we're going to go back down here to just break a few blocks that we missed and get a few chests.
And then it's on to the only other section of the game you haven't seen, with the exception of the final section, which is the Great Temple.
Yeah, after this section we're going to go to the Temple of War, which we have dubbed the Temple of Hyperfly. You usually don't have all the abilities going into it. We have every single ability in the game, including the extra abilities of flight, and we're going to do some pretty interesting stuff there if you haven't seen 100% run before. At this last chest in the desert, you can get mid-flight while doing a hyperfly. Very tricky to get, and unfortunately I missed it. But you can maintain your flight speed there.
It is very, very difficult.
And immediately coming up, we're going to see our first hyperfly of the Temple of Hyperfly, which is just going to catapult us through this first room.
I unfortunately messed it up because I wasn't prepared. Oops.
But it's okay, one of us made it. Now these enemies here, the tri-arms, they have 3 swords. That stabbing maneuver there you just saw from the one with the shield, that will pretty much kill you in one shot with this costume. Maybe 2, but it will certainly put you in a critical health point.
There's a lot of precise bubbling in and out on this section, so that's why it happens a lot. Okay, it's one of our favourite little tricks.
Usually you'd have to backtrack there.
But with 2 players you just use the screen transition mechanic and just skip right out of it. Pretty much.
One thing we haven't mentioned is that there is acid in this game that you can drop into. If you fall into it, it doesn't kill you, it will drop you back to the last place you were standing. Now I'm going to use that mechanic to not touch the floor at all in here to avoid any backtracking. Yeah.
It warps you back a fair amount too. And this is just a nice quick way to get around, because as you're about to see, that green platform doesn't really count as a last platform once it's broken.
Yes.
Yeah, platforms that tend to be in the other dimension as well don't tend to count either. Did we get the swag? Yeah, we did. Nice. Forgot we both got that.
Normally you'd have to cling to those walls and kind of jump, but since we have chicken fly, we don't.
Exactly, we're gonna do a little trick here that the madman Friday used to do without all these abilities.
Would he be crazy?
Yeah, but now we can do them with them, so that kind of trivialises that little trick. Back in the day that was super hard to do.
So in this arena we're introduced to the hammer enemies, and they pretty much one-shot you as well, if I'm right. They do one-shot you in the yellow Hebrei costume.
With the amount of health we have, it's unlikely that they'll be able to one-shot you, but they'll be damn close.
Damn close.
And fun fact, that wall climb ability that we have now is something we actually get from this temple, and it's actually proving to come in handy in terms of just getting in and out fast. But Goatfly's the big star here. We can just blaze through these hallways like they're nothing. It seems like this place was kind of designed around it.
Now this arena is a bit strange because no matter how fast you kill the enemies, the arena's timed, so it will open only after a set amount of time, usually when the clock on the last bomb has finished. But obviously we killed that long before then. What I've tried to do there is set it up so I can goat fly to the right, break a chest, and immediately goat fly left. Unfortunately, as you're about to see, I mistime it and hit the wall, so I've got to set that up again. Goat flying through that small section is very precise.
Nice combo hyperfly there.
Very, very beautiful.
The lady's going to exit out here for the dimension swap part. It's very easy to get caught in a dimension change and hold the other player, so that's why she's bubbled out. I'm going to do a lot of messing up in this room. I really am. It gets worse.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Now, this next part, coming up in a little bit here, we have an auto-scroller. And it's kind of an auto-scroller platforming section.
Sorry, we had a little bit of a mess up there. There was all kinds of spaghetti. I mistimed my roll and hit the acid, and because I hadn't hit the ground, it sent me back to the other screen.
Now, I've seen Friday kind of wait until we got to a certain part of this. Right after this section here, he's done it once where he goat flew off of this wall coming up and just dodged through those vines and hit the other wall and goat flew this next section, but it's TAS only, so we tend to play it a bit safe on this section because there's spikes everywhere, and it doesn't matter how much health you have, one hit and you're gone.
Yeah, I think Bagel's actually the one who pointed that strat out.
Yeah, I pointed it out that it was possible, but I've never actually done it. It's one of those things I've been able to come up with in my head, but never actually been able to replicate. But as we mentioned before, Friday is a madman, and he will do anything to save a frame.
Now, we were supposed to fight a boss, but he's missing. And the reason is because we set our objective to Sierra earlier. Technically, we killed him.
Yeah, it acknowledges that the boss has been defeated and is no longer there.
Now, ordinarily, this would kind of be a bit of a problem for us because we wouldn't get Goat Climb, but thanks to El Infierno number 3, we have it.
Yeah, if anyone was wondering, the boss that we would have fought there is Flameface, and it is the most annoying boss in the whole game.
Yeah. We don't miss fighting him at all. Now we're just doing some combo tutorials with Combo Chicken. These are, the first one in the start of the game is compulsory, but these ones are optional side quests, so we have to do them at 100%. We waited till this point so we had enough stamina to actually complete them. You can carefully do it with 4 stamina blocks, but it is a tiny bit slower.
Or you can change to the skeleton costume.
Yeah, but really it's not much of a time saver to do it earlier, and actually it wastes a bit of time.
Yeah. I don't know how I managed to get that combo, because I messed it up too many times, but for some reason it just didn't fail me.
The game has...
I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. It's very weird in how it chooses to be lenient there.
Hopefully we can keep Lady in before her bubble actually forms, and we managed to do that. This is so we can have her in at the start of the forest, doing the forest collection. She plays a very important role at the start of it.
You say that.
Well, actually she plays a very important role throughout the whole of it, almost.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of rooms that you have to kind of enter and exit in here. And I imagine Lady being at the entrance to that room can save several seconds.
Yes. Unfortunately things go a little bit wrong here, so we have to try and do that again.
But yeah, an interesting thing with the screen transitions is that whatever form the first person goes through as, the other player will come through as the same form.
Using 2-player there to get a quick exit on most of these rooms. As quick as we can at least.
And the best thing about Headbutt is that its hitbox is so big that you can actually hit that chest through the wall.
I've missed a cycle there that I usually go through, so I'm gonna hyperfly through there.
Improv.
Yes. This run isn't without mistakes. It can be a lot faster. But I say a lot. I reckon there's about another minute to save. And I get a very precise hyperfly through that section there to maintain my speed through that narrow hallway. The lady's gonna break this chest as I leave. And we don't actually need her in for the other one, so we're just going to pause and quit as soon as we break it. Now, much like the two-lay tree, what we actually want to do with the final area of the game, the Grand Temple, is do it backwards. But there are some chests we need to get at the start that we wouldn't otherwise be able to. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the temple in chicken form to avoid the area change save, and avoid saving our location in throughout the temple until we need to leave it.
Which is a huge risk, because if you die, it runs over, basically.
Yeah, if you manage to save, you'll waste a minute trying to reset up this glitch.
Thankfully in Hundo, the ordinarily fatal attacks from the enemies here are rendered not so fatal because we have so much extra health to work with. So we thankfully have a little bit of a buffer for us dying, or against us dying, I should say.
Yeah, usually in any percent what we would do is the very first save point we would do a very old technique we did way before Select All Glitch called a false purchase. We would go very gradually up into the arena so it didn't save our location and purchase something. Now it would register that we've saved the game on all our inventory but not our location, and we'd use that to skip a few things in very early incarnations of this run. If you do that and pause and quit and set up another Select All Glitch in Santa Lucita, it would warp you directly to the end of the temple. I'm staying in chicken form here to again facilitate that glitch and avoiding all save points.
Like the plague.
Once I've got all the treasure I need to from this end of the Grand Temple, I'm going to perform a false purchase and go to the end of the Grand Temple.
Which is where the final Olmec head is.
Yes.
Doing this not only trivializes, you know, what we would ordinarily have to do, which is chicken fly up part of the temple, and just doing some climbing and even a maze, but a couple of arenas as well.
Including the worst room in the game.
Oh man, those lightning guys are no joke, but thankfully they are now in this run.
We laugh at the lightning guys. Mwahaha.
And we use that Olmec head because we're going to need it to get right back up to the top. That is an interesting stance.
It is, isn't it? We've discovered that Frog Slam is not the fastest downward movement. If you dodge out of it, you then move faster than what you would do in the Frog Slam stance. So you saw there me breaking Lady's bubble with a Frog Slam, but she wasn't doing it. She was just in her standard pose. So she actually moved down faster than what I did. There's the worst arena in the game, and we just fly straight through it, which is nice. And
we flew through one after that with some bombs.
Yes. Yes, we did. I'm going to do this portal arena. Not the fastest, you can do it by far. The lady helps me out with a quick exit here. Now we're going to do a fairly difficult trick here. Usually what we would do, I messed it up there so we have to restart it, is we would do a goat fly off this blue block to break it and then go through. What I'm doing here is maintaining my goat fly speed by flying against the slope while Lady breaks that block, so I can just zoom through that area with the bombs.
Admittedly not very quickly, my swap hopping is kind of temperamental on that bit, to be fair. That and I kind of suck at it, but hey.
Well, we needed that chest, and we got it, so we're just gonna dive through the rest of the dungeon now.
Pretty much. There's two arenas, I beg your pardon, that are left in the game. We're gonna come through one now, which isn't a difficult arena, but my god, it's annoying. The Alex enemies that we encountered much earlier in the run, which are very, they dodge a lot. The movement is very unpredictable, and now we've got the added bonus of them having shields.
And the worst ones to get are the white shields, because you really have to work at clearing those off. Whereas the colored shields are a lot easier to land. Not so much the Olmec headbutt one, it's kind of a precision strike, but it has the added bonus of just killing them instantly.
I fail a little bit here.
To be fair, we both did.
Now what we accidentally discovered is that going through this section here actually glitches it out a little bit, and we couldn't progress through that hidden passageway with both of us entering it at the same time.
Luckily it's a quick fix and not a game ender, thank God.
Now, this is the only room in which we encounter the lightning enemies in 100%, and they can dodge any attack. It doesn't matter if you have them mid-combo, they will dodge it, which is why we're so glad about skipping the other lightning arena where about 5 of them spawn.
Yeah.
The only other place you see them is the room directly below the Olmec headbutt. Olmec head, sorry.
But we dispatched of those very quickly in that room. And this is a very difficult trick where we really encountered the Hyperfly, managing to thread the needle through that small space to maintain your goat fly speed through there, saves a few seconds. And also, while I'm mashing the A button to go high here, I'm trying to hover over as many platforms as I can, because you are actually moving down ever so slightly in between mashing, and if you are lucky enough you'll manage to get a jump off one of those platforms and it'll extend your upward momentum even more. Now, having Lady in here, we'll skip a little part of the cutscene, and now we're on to the final boss.
And Carlos Calaca is a very tricky sucker with one person. Optimally, we can hope for a bicycle, which I can imagine with another person is trivialized, right?
Yes, very much. We believe, although we haven't put a lot of time into it at the moment of practicing it, that it's possible to get a unicycle. You can see how much damage we do in one cycle and how much it takes to kill him on the second. And it takes almost nothing to kill him on the second cycle at all. And me not splitting like a champ.
Ooh, nice roll.
It is such a pain to get that roll. It is really tricky.
So that's a huge difference, having to roll over to him and then attack rather than just attacking directly.
And basically we just go nuts with the headbutts.
Now, Calaca is stunned a little bit when you perform a special on him, so he's not able to do a hell of a lot in this fight at all.
There we have it. Calaca 2 is over before it even started.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he got one attack on us, and it was one of his quickest attacks that he can do. Oddly enough, in any percent, and even 100% to an extent, that is a very bad attack to have. But in co-op 100%, it's a very quick attack, and we can get way more damage in than we usually should. So he's only able to do that one quick attack, and that's it. Run over, collect all the masterpieces, and we're done.
Last thing to do is to just row the boat home.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for watching our run. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and we'll be sure to answer them.
Oh yeah, thanks for watching. If you're interested in running, you can check out Guacamelee.com. We'll be updating the information there, or at least I'll be doing my best to do that. And, you know, of course, check this YouTube channel out.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching. Bye now.
Yep, thanks, bye now.
See ya.